live. Just so you know.
Cool.
That's better. Okay. All right, guys. Welcome. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Real Talk Bougie. We have a friend with us today.
Hello.
Okay.
Good to be here. It's like a full circle, kind of a full circle moment in a way.
How did we get here? How did we get here?
I ask myself that every day.
It's just, oh my goodness. So, okay. Everyone is very excited to be here. I was just live a little while ago. We were going through some important information on the docket, as we like to do. As soon as something, we hit the docket immediately. So as soon as something hits the docket, we are reviewing it. And our friends from Phone Calls from Prison are here. Hi, guys. So
wait, I'm just curious. Like, do you get a notification if something gets filed? I've always kind of wondered about that.
So I do have a subscription with Research Georgia.
Okay.
And Research Georgia, you can set alerts, but there's a price. So as far as on Odyssey, no, you just have to, if you don't have a subscription, then you pretty much just have to troll every day. But I pretty much have a cadence of checking once a day anyway, especially when things were really rolling a lot. I would just check every morning, because sometimes the alerts on Research Georgia, they come, but they're not super, I wouldn't say they're not reliable, but they're not timely. Like, for instance, so there was a little bit, let's just get right into it, huh? You guys were filing back and forth a couple of things, maybe early on during the motion to suppress. And there were some things going back and forth. And it was just like, oh my God, is Will going to file something? I was all weekend just checking. Because I'm like, oh, see, the other party may take a little while to post, but then when you post, like, you're pretty quick to post back. So it's like 24, 72 hours. There's some, there's a timely response. Not to say the other one isn't timely, but you are on it right away.
And I'll tell you part of what that was, if I'm being completely honest, is, I was one of the leads on the Trump case and was in charge of all of the pretrial motions practice. And so, I mean, there were days where there were deadlines, and we had like very strict deadlines in that case, right?
Okay.
And there were days when I would have to file like 5-6 responses in one day. Oh my gosh. And so I got very quick with it. And then, when that case slowed down a little bit and I could focus on some of my other cases, like, I had a lot to say. I'll just say,
right. Oh, wow.
I had a lot to say in general, to pretty much anyone who would listen. And so it was easy to just, like, I don't know. And I also, like, in any case, in general, if I get something filed by the other side that's like, that I have a response to, let me just put it like that, because I got to stay judicial here, but that I have something to say. Like, I like to get it out quick. I like to get it out quick. I mean, sometimes, as I know y'all have seen, there's been times where, like, I'll file a short response and then file the long response a couple days later once I have time.
Okay, yeah, more detail. Okay, so let's get into it, guys. So Will, welcome to Real Talk Bougie. You have been, like, this is, it's still kind of surreal to me that you're actually here. So welcome. We appreciate you coming so much, because first of all, we love, I would call myself a true crime channel, but I mean, we love true crime news. We follow cases, if you will. And the way we became familiar with you obviously was through and I'm not going to speak for everyone, but at least for me, I became aware of you through the Ernest Williams, Shirley Strawberry situation. And that's how I really got to know some of the players in Fulton County, of course, which you are one of them. So we want to welcome you here. Number one, thank you so much for coming. And then we have thoroughly enjoyed your filings, your briefs, all of the things that you've been filing in this case. I mean, I think we always look forward to a filing from Will Wooten because it's like, what's he gonna drop now? What's going on? I'm gonna just say my very. Let me just speak about my favorite. When Judge Dunaway asked for some information, this was pretty much everything has revolved around the motion to suppress for about the past year, but he asked you guys to file, maybe he asked Hoover to file a brief or something, and Hoover filed it, I guess. I don't know what you would call that. What is it when you file and something can't be seen? Can you tell us a little back office shop? Can you tell us what the secret filing situation?
So generally, like I can speak generally.
Yes, sir. Yes.
You know, you don't see this come up much in criminal cases, but like in divorce cases or child custody cases, or sometimes like in federal court and stuff, you'll see parties file stuff under seal. And so usually what you have to do, Georgia law is real strict about it, actually. So usually what you have to do is you have to file a motion for permission to file under seal. And then the judge has to grant the motion and enter an order that gives like very specific reasons why you're allowed to file under seal. So Georgia's big on, you know, public access. And so when you go to file something in, there's like a little option that says public or non-public. And in general, you're supposed to only do non-public if you've gotten that permission to file it in under seal. And then, but you can still do it even if you haven't gotten the permission. And I don't know exactly how that gets undone necessarily if you filed it in without getting the permission.
Okay.
That can happen.
Okay. So, and sorry about this. Of course, you know, we're live, so we're I'm having a little bit of camera, so I might have to switch out cameras in just a second. Okay. So that's how that happens. As far as filing under seal. So you responded to something that was filed under seal, and basically you mentioned that basically that the people had a right to know what was going on, and you kind of cited that there was, and you purposely filed it public and also included that filing for the people to be able to see. And you know, because there is a public interest in this particular case, it was, you know, it was one of those things like, I think people really appreciated the fact that, you know, that you are committed to public access for the people. Because despite for whatever reason that people are following this case, people are following the case. And the people litigating or protect or defending the case don't really get to choose who the audience is, who is following. And I mean, we appreciate that, you know, that the office, that the, you know, Fulton County prosecutor office does seem to care that the people have access to the information and are able to follow and be able to, you know, follow the progression of the process. So I think it's definitely very much appreciated. So yeah, that was something very notable that was kind of like, oh yes, he filed it for us so we could see what was going on.
I'm just, you know, I'm a big believer in what you just said, which is that the people have the right to know. The law requires that the people have the right to know unless there's very specific circumstances that are met. And I mean, even like, again, talking generally, but like, for instance, anytime I dismiss a case, whether it's indicted, unindicted, whatever it is, anytime I dismiss it, I am writing a memo like that says exactly why. I'm putting exhibits attached to it, and I'm going to file it publicly because I stand behind my work, you know, every time I stand behind it. And so I want, if somebody, you know, is interested in whatever case it is, and they find out that it's been dismissed or that whatever has happened on it, that they can pull the docket and see exactly why, you know. I think, you know, even speaking to a bigger issue that we're seeing in some of our courts, you know, bringing it back a little bit to my race,
Right.
You know, you hear about things happening on like the shadow docket in the Supreme Court where things happen and there's no public, there's no explanation for why.
Right.
And I just think, you know, in a democracy where people who are in government positions are put there by the people and we're supposed to serve the people, we should have nothing to hide. We should have nothing to hide.
So tell us, so you were in the public defender's office previously, or were you a defense attorney and in the PD's office, or just all of your time as a defense attorney was it spent in the public defender's?
Yes. Yeah. So I was actually, I started out, went to law school here in Atlanta at Emory, and then moved up to Tennessee for about 4.5 years and was a public defender up there in a very small rural circuit. It was like 4 counties outside of Knoxville. And we had, I mean, one of our counties had like 10,000 people. So it was very different than Atlanta, very, very different than Atlanta. But yeah, my whole time there, I was a public defender, and I mean, had every kind of case you can think of. And so too, I would point that out that, you know, I know folks criticize public defenders from time to time, but in my opinion, they're some of the best criminal lawyers in the courthouse because they know it so well. It's what they do every single day. They're not in it for money. You know, they're not in it for anything other than the work.
Right.
And so yeah, I just have a lot of respect for public defenders. Loved my time doing it. Sometimes I miss it. Sometimes, I mean, I'm telling you, there's nothing quite like, you know, it's you and your client, and it's just the two of you against the whole system. Sometimes, you know, I had clients where, I mean, truly, many times, truly had clients where, you know, I was the first person in their whole life that ever stood up for them.
Oh,
and so, you know,
yeah,
I mean, it's a shame. It's like there's a lot of people that are charged with crimes and that are in the system because they did something and they should be there. Right. But then there's, you know, plenty of people who jail's not the answer. And so, you know, it was an honor to be able to represent those folks and really do justice by them.
Right. Absolutely. So, and I mean, it's kind of great brain training when you're able to do both sides of something. So when you kind of only get one side of one thing, even though there can probably be multi-facets of that one thing, being able to kind of be on an opposing side, I would imagine is probably, you know, you get that dual perspective coming from either side. So I guess taking that into account, what about now running for, like, what got you interested in running for judge?
No, such a good question. I'm gonna probably give a longer answer than anyone ever wanted to know, but it's a long time in the making. It's a long time coming. So when I came back to Atlanta in 2018, I was working in the Gwinnett County Solicitor's Office. So Georgia's a little weird. We have the DA's office that handles felony cases, and then some counties have what's called a solicitor's office, which just does misdemeanors. And so, you know, I had defended felonies in Tennessee. I had defended murders, you know, accused sex offenders, everything, you name it. But I was able to I was ready to move on, and I was ready to take whatever job got me in the door back in Georgia. Took that job. And from the time that I hit the ground there, people were like, you got to run for something. Like, you got to do this. And so fun fact is actually, so I have my campaign social media is Wooten for GA pretty much everywhere. Wooten for Georgia. And I actually made the Instagram and the website back in like 2019.
Oh, wow.
And so, they've been sitting there waiting. They've been sitting there waiting. No followers, nothing, just in the bushes, as you might say.
What do you know about the bushes? Have you been in the bushes?
Might have been, might be. But so yeah, they were just sitting there waiting. And I was trying to figure out, like, what is the right thing? When is the right time? What do I want to do? And then I got put on the Trump case. And so that kind of put all of that on hold because, you know, on that case, I think it was so important to be very apolitical. You know, I got rid of social media. I you know, wouldn't dare donate to any political candidates or anything like that. Just went fully apolitical to really focus on that case. When that case kind of went by the wayside, I mean, I'll be honest, like, that happened, and then the election in 2024 happened, the inauguration in 2025 happened, and, you know, we all kind of saw what was going on in the country, Minneapolis, I mean, all kinds of things going on, and it was hard for me, right? Because I'm so used to being a like, let's do something about this type of person. And when I saw our elections case kind of fall apart, frankly, I was like, man, is this system that I believe in so much, is it working? I mean, we all know there's issues with the criminal justice system. There are issues. But I've always felt like, hey, I'm here in the seat doing something about it, whether on the defense side, the prosecution side, like I'm here fixing it, working on it, trying to make it better. And then kind of got very disillusioned and lost hope. And that was a short period of time. That was about a month where I was just like, man, what are we doing? What are we going to do? What can I do? And then, I think there's a lot of folks were looking for people to stand up and do something. And like I said, I've always been a stand up and do something type of person. I just started thinking like, okay, I gotta figure out what's next. I had thought about running for a trial court position, which would just be like just Fulton County, but I wanted to go bigger because I always, I mean, no surprise.
I mean, you may as well, right?
Yeah. And so I talked to some friends, some advisors. I prayed about it, and this came into focus as the right thing to do. And so, looked at what judges were up for election on the appellate courts. And full disclosure, full candor, the judge that I am challenging is the judge that wrote the opinion that disqualified our office from the elections case.
Oh, no. Yeah. Well, I mean, but yay. Okay.
And so, that's not the reason why I chose to challenge him, but that's kind of how he got on my radar, and started looking at all the different judges that were up, looking at their infrastructure, and who they were as candidates and as judges and the things that they did. And he became the one that made the most sense. And so, one of the things in running for office is you got to run for the right office at the right time.
Right.
And I also think, we've been seeing some elections around the country and in Georgia where candidates who care about democracy, candidates who care about the rule of law are winning, and they're winning in big ways.
Right.
And so it's achievable, it's attainable, it's doable. And so that's why I decided to take the step. Now I can tell you more about even bigger picture stuff if we want to drill into it too.
So it's a statewide. So your candidacy is all of Georgia. So are you circulating around? Are you on like a road show? How are you getting the message out and around of who you are, what you've done, and kind of letting people who know who you are? Because sometimes, I'm going to be honest, when I go to the poll and there's a judge running, I may not even know who that person is until I'm actually walking in, and maybe somebody might have handed me something, or there's a judge or somebody who is outside of the polling place who's kind of like, hey, can I get your vote? I'm this, that, and the third. And I don't know. I'm not always saying that that's somebody who I'm going to vote for, but it does give me a frame of reference as I'm walking in, that, oh, this person stopped me. There were 10 people walking in. They stopped me, talked to me, and now I'm seeing their name. And I don't know, maybe, sometimes that's how votes happen. I mean, everybody isn't making a choice from extensive study. So how are you because when is the election?
So statewide election.
Normal like November, or is it
No, so it's unique. So it's a statewide election, to your point. Like everyone in Georgia can vote in this election. It's on May 19th. So my election, all of the nonpartisan. So I'll start with all of the judicial races in Georgia. They're all nonpartisan. So no one runs as a Democrat or Republican or independent. Everyone's just nonpartisan.
Right. Okay.
And so those elections occur on the same day as the partisan primaries. But for us, it's not the primary, that is the election. So election day is May 19th. For me, that's going to be everywhere in the state of Georgia. Early voting starts on April 27th. So we're getting real close. And it doesn't matter, if you pull a Republican primary ballot, a Democrat primary ballot, I'm going to be on there.
Okay, good. Okay. Anybody in Georgia, May 19th.
Yes. Tell your friends.
And the website is actually in the description box, and there is a donation link, and you take like as little as $1, right?
Oh yeah. And okay. And so that ties into your question, which is how are we getting it out there? How are we getting the message out? How are we getting the name out? So to your point, I think a lot of people don't even know that judges are elected. I've been, as you might imagine, have talked to a lot of people on the campaign trail in the last month, 6 weeks or so, and even talking to lawyers that have done this for 20 years, some of them did not know that judges are elected. So in Georgia, all the judges are elected. And so part of the issue is what we've been seeing in Georgia over the last couple of decades is judges will resign their seats like right before their term is up. And so what that means is the governor gets to appoint somebody to
so
sit
some
in that
strategy
seat.
there.
Right.
Okay.
So, these are very low information elections. So people don't know that they're happening, to your point, don't know anything about the candidates. And so often, almost routinely, the incumbent wins. It's rare for the incumbents to even have a challenger in the first place. So, and my opponent has never had a statewide challenger. He was appointed to the state court, which is a lower, like the misdemeanor court. He was appointed to the Superior Court. He was appointed to the Court of Appeals. He ran in 2020 for the Court of Appeals, but didn't have a challenger. So that changes in 2026.
Okay.
And so going back to your point, how are we getting it out there? I will put my pitch out there. The donations are everything.
Okay.
And I'm going to put it out to the bougie gang. If y'all can spare $1, $10.
Period. Yes, we can spare at least $1.
$100. Yeah, but if and I have a campaign manager and some finance folks on my team that are like, raise more money, get more money, get on the phone, make those calls. So if I looked at the numbers, if everyone who subscribes to you even donates $1, I've hit my goal for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
I can get some beauty rest and not be on the phone.
Okay. We need for you to get your rest. Absolutely. So you can, and so you're still working you're still carrying your full-time load while you are campaigning, right? So tell us about that. So, and your role in the district attorney's office is a deputy DA now. So are you promoted through the ranks, or did you come in as a DDA?
So I came in as a DDA. I came in with DA Willis's administration. My first day on the job was January 6, 2021, day that I think.
Did she recruit you, or how did you come in?
Great question. So, so she ran. So I was in Clayton County at the time, at the DA's office in Clayton County, down on the south side, and I knew that DA Willis was running. I did not know her, but I started asking around because she challenged an incumbent who had been there for quite some time, and so I'm, asking around, and people are saying, all these great things about her. I didn't know her, and so I actually reached out to her and was just like, "Hey, I've heard great things. Can I get a yard sign, or can I get a bumper?" I think I said, "Can I get a bumper sticker?" And I don't think she had bumper stickers. I think she only had yard signs. I lived in an apartment, still live in an apartment, and so I couldn't
put it in my window.
Yeah. And so, I was just kind of supportive in the background. I would message her here and there, and everybody in Clayton County was like, "You're going to leave, aren't you? You're going to go to Fulton. You're going to go to Fulton." And I was like, "No, I'm really not. I really had no plan to do it." And then, as I have been known to do, probably at 2:00 in the morning one night, I'm just scrolling on my phone, and I look on LinkedIn, and I saw that every position in the Fulton County DA's office was open for interviews after she had won her election. Yeah. So she put it all up for interviews. And so I was like, well, I know I want to transition to white collar. I had been doing a lot of white collar in Clayton County. And so the DDA position was open, and then the ADA position up under the DDA was open. And I was like, you know what? Let me just apply for both, see what happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I did one cover letter that said, I'm applying for both. Had an interview. She had done her homework. She had asked around about me, which I was very impressed by, honestly.
Yeah.
And she offered me the job. I was actually sitting right in this apartment on Zoom, and literally jumped up and down for joy, because this is my dream job.
Super dynamic to work for. I feel like I find her a fascinating woman, or person in general. I find her fascinating. I love seeing her show up on interviews and hearing her speak. How is it to work for Fani Willis? Is it just kind of like, Is it just, I mean, she's just a normal person like everybody else, or is it like, wow, she's amazing? Like, how is it to work with her?
Both? I mean, it's both at the same time, because she definitely, and I've only worked for elected officials, both as a public defender and prosecutor. Of all the bosses that I've had, she's the one who can do literally every job in the office. And I mean, like, every job.
Is she just amazing legal mind?
Amazing.
Or just also, because, some people are just a wonderful manager. She, wonderful manager, director, leader of staff, leadership. But does she also come through with, did you check this statute? Did you check that? Like, is the legal mind is also legal minding and just kind of all of that? Like, she's
absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, she's, I mean, this is going to sound cheesy, but it's true. I mean, she's one of my heroes, truly.
Okay. She really comes to the table with a lot.
Yeah, she comes to the table, and she believed in me and gave me a chance and made me a seat at the table when that had not happened to me in the same way before. And so, if it were not for her, I don't know that I would be, I know that I wouldn't be where I am right now. And I don't know that I would be running for this position. So I think the world of her, and it's an honor to work for her. Truly.
So, like, you definitely, so tell us how your position in Fulton County, like, you really feel like it has given you an opportunity to really grow. Like, do you feel like when you look back at positions that kind of took you up a notch, or positions that really changed the trajectory of where you were going? Not to say any of these other places were bad, but Clayton County, you said you were in Gwinnett, all of these other places where you were, if it were, do you feel like you would be running for appeals court right now had you been still in Gwinnett or Clayton County, or doing some of the other things that you were doing? And, like, has Fulton County really helped kind of prepare you and give you that opportunity to say, you know what, I can sit on the appeals court. Like, I know a lot, and I feel like I can offer a lot to the seat. Like, tell us about that progression.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I had done a little bit of appellate work when I was a public defender. We actually did our own appeals whenever we went to trial. So I had a handful of appeals up there. But yeah, I mean, not to talk bad about my other positions in Gwinnett and Clayton, because I learned every job I've had, I have learned so much.
There's been like a progression.
Yeah, every single time. But this was the one where I was really trusted to do. I mean, I was basically given my white collar unit and told, I trust you, go forth, do well. And if you don't, I'm gonna fire you. And if you do,
like, develop, this is your, go ahead and develop this office.
Yeah. And so I was given that latitude, given that opportunity, and, took it as a learning experience, but also, just putting everything that I learned other places behind that to try to do good work. And I'm that weird person that loves fraud cases. Now, y'all know that fraud cases are juicy and exciting.
Oh my God.
For whatever reason, a lot of most prosecutors want to do murders and want to do, that type of, like, violent crime. That's not so much for me. I don't love the blood and all that stuff. And so, a lot of people just think these are so boring, but they're so juicy. There's such
there's now the forensics of data is so key in financial crime. So you're able to do, it's obviously a different forensics, but you are getting to pull that data, and it's getting more juicy. With the cell phone data, with financial data and records, all of that information is now I feel like there's a more sophisticated way to catch criminals.
Definitely.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think not only that, but I mean, social media has made it where, so many of these fraud cases are happening in plain sight.
Oh my God.
And you just get someone's Instagram and there's so much there. But I also think that I think there's a couple things going on there. One, happening in plain sight on social media, so people are just putting their stuff out there, which is wild to me. But
are people just not aware of their footprint, or they just don't? Because I think sometimes people think that the magnitude or multitudes of people that are out here, nobody's looking at me, even though you are being grimy. Do people really forget that it's just a data analyst just needs to be given a couple of queries and you're basically going to be done? Like,
I think it's that, but like, I also think it's like one of the things that I've learned by just doing fraud cases is that people who are going to go big on fraud, like do it big, do not think like me and you, right? And so I don't know if it's that they don't think they're going to get caught, or they think that they can weasel their way out of it, or they think that it's just not fraud. I don't know. But the thought process is different. So when we sit down and we think about a case and we're like, oh my God, why would you do this? Why would you put it all over TikTok? Why would you put it all over Instagram? I just don't think that the thought process is the same. I don't know what it is, but just
because so two things I'm thinking of, not that I know all of your cases, but it just so happens that I am following, I was following 3, but now I'm following 4, definitely legit. Brandon Dillard, the TikTok veneer specialist. He was marketing all over Instagram, all over TikTok, was not a dentist, doing all kinds of dental work, and also veneer specialist, which was a title that did not exist. All of those things. He's not the only one. We've seen other cases, right? But I guess does that total in the millions of dollars? I know there's real estate involved, there's leases involved, there's equipment, like durable equipment involved, because he had like a legit, well, not a legit, but he had what appeared to be a legit office with dental equipment and all kinds of things. Like, how is that a super complicated case, the Brandon Dillard case?
So let me start with the disclaimer of, an indictment is
as much you can tell. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Indictment's just an accusation. Everyone's presumed innocent until they're proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And I can talk about what's in the indictment. And so
absolutely
what we allege in the indictment, and again, keep it in mind that this is, grand jury has considered the evidence and found that there's probable cause. We allege in the indictment that, yes, it was over $4 million in revenue.
Wow. Okay.
The scheme. So yeah, that's just the revenue.
So are all of those considered fraud dollars? I mean, I guess it's all been procured in fraud, allegedly, right? Because it's every dollar of that 4 million were procured under the guise of that this person was certified or licensed to be able to do this type of work, and also in the office where he is. So it's all basically, it's the whole thing is a sham top to bottom. So is there a forfeiture of, I believe I did see something about forfeiture of assets and monies and all of those things. So in a situation like that, or specifically this individual, is everything seized, like bank accounts, everything, just nothing?
So again, going back to, I can only talk about what's in the pleadings in that one, but we did file a forfeiture action in the case that kind of explains how, from our position, a lot of that property was obtained through. It's actually obtained through a pattern of racketeering activity. So there's a couple different ways you can file a forfeiture action in Georgia. The one that happens in my unit most often is a RICO forfeiture, and so we set out all there was like luxury goods and vehicles and a condo and all the dental equipment, all of it's listed in that forfeiture action.
So lots of assets. So, okay, that's a RICO where we know that there was like a girlfriend and friends and partners. Cause I feel like I read it too on a live. We've done a few Brandon Dillard videos. So let's talk. So that RICO, I guess you could say, are the allegations including an enterprise? So there's multiple people within this particular RICO, but what about a RICO like, I'm going to say Ernest Williams, where it's kind of a RICO of one, even though I guess Erica King was part of that. I guess some of the rub that is out here in some of the blogosphere is that it's not a RICO because it's only one person. But I think you explained in one of your filings that this is RICO racketeering behavior. This is not necessarily that you're identifying a complete enterprise, but that it was behavior. Can you talk to us about like this type of the RICO, the Brandon Dillard RICO versus a Ernest Williams RICO, just from like the scope and structure versus like specifics of the case?
Yeah, absolutely. So under the RICO Act, and I'll tell you now, all I have are RICO cases at this point. That's my whole caseload is just RICOs. So there's 3, and I'm gonna get a little technical here, but I'll try
love that. Yes, yeah. we like to learn.
So there's 3
you're getting donations. Just to let you know, people.
Thank you.
Everyone is chiming in with some donated. So yes, so definitely, you got a lot of support here. I think people appreciate the work that you've been doing.
Thank you.
We've seen it through the filings, and we know that you work really, know that you work hard.
Try to do the right thing. I always try to do the right thing. But yeah, so with RICO, there's kind of 4 different ways you can violate the RICO statute in Georgia. Okay. One of them is, and my personal favorite is acquiring an interest in or control of real property or personal property through a pattern of racketeering activity. What does that mean? That basically means you got money or you got stuff through committing a bunch of specific crimes. And so that's generally when I'm doing like a 1-person RICO case, is going to be that flavor of RICO, that they almost always obtain money through a pattern of racketeering activity, committing, that pattern of crimes. The second way is the enterprise RICO. And so the enterprise RICO, and both of them are RICO just as much as either one or as the other one. The enterprise RICO is that you conducted or participated in an enterprise while you were associated with that enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity. So what does that mean? Basically, you were part of a group of people, more than one person, that, were kind of associated with each other. And now that could be like, there's been RICO enterprises where the enterprise is a school system, the APS case. Yes. Atlanta Public Schools was the enterprise. There's been a very famous RICO case against a guy named Sidney Dorsey in DeKalb County. Excuse me. He was the sheriff in DeKalb, lost his election, killed the guy that beat him, and was charged with murder in RICO. Yeah, and in that case, the enterprise was the DeKalb County Sheriff's Office. And so an enterprise can be what we call illicit, so like just totally illegal, a gang, whatever it is. Or it can also be licit. So that's like, it could be Atlanta Public Schools, DeKalb Sheriff's Office. It can be a legitimate organization that's basically been overtaken by criminal activity. Right. So it's those are the 2 main
Or also ones. People are participating but might not realize that what they're doing. So you kind of have someone pulling the strings, and people are now participating in something that has gone astray, but maybe they're not absolutely, they're not 100%, because really, so the Atlanta Public Schools thing was, was it test scores and grades? But the ultimate goal was that I guess the school would have a better rating and it would trigger bonuses, right? So there was
I think that's right.
That was pretty much the money goal of it, was that it was going to trigger bonuses, salaries, and a higher rating for the school. So that helps the principal with the ratings of the school. The bonuses, obviously the teachers would get paid more, they would get bonuses, and then the kids were benefiting unknowingly, right? Because really couldn't prosecute the kids for getting it was so. But how are they getting through these grades and kids not knowing that maybe they should be getting D's and then they're getting A's? Like, didn't any kids run it up the flagpole that, hey, I'm getting these odd grades I did not deserve?
I don't know. I just know I would never be like, hey, teacher, I got an A. I think I should have got a C.
I feel bad for the kids that were getting A's then they're studying, they're really getting good grades. And then it's kind of like there's like a false system here of grading. So that was weird. So is that still going on, or is that done yet? Because I heard for a long time it was still going on. Okay, so there's totally done. Okay, that's
and good. What I'll say is too, with an enterprise case, and the APS is a great example. You could have an enterprise where like 95% of the people that are in that enterprise didn't do anything wrong, didn't know that a chunk of it was being used to commit criminal activity. So like that's what was going on in APS too. Is not every educator, not everyone at every school was part of that criminal activity, but a group had taken over at least a corner of the enterprise or the entity and turned it into a criminal enterprise.
Like Bernie Madoff in a way. Bernie was running his own little separate Ponzi scheme. So not that his whole company was a fraud, but his fraud affected the whole entire company because So
and the key is though, for anyone to get charged, like they have to knowingly be committing crimes, right? So you couldn't accidentally be, caught up in a RICO and didn't do anything wrong and didn't know. And then I'll throw in like the third type of RICO is basically a conspiracy to do either of the other two types. And so kind of the one that we use a lot in our enterprise cases as well, because you can charge someone who has just agreed to participate in the enterprise, even if they haven't. Now it's rare for us to charge them for agreeing to participate and they haven't actually participated. But it's just another way.
Is that someone who might fall under unindicted co-conspirator?
Potentially. Like, there's all different reasons.
No real evidence that they did anything, but they could have some information.
Well, I would say even, for anyone to be named, just in general, for anyone to be named as an unindicted co-conspirator in an indictment, like they definitely joined the conspiracy. They definitely participated in the conspiracy, but there's all different reasons why you might not charge them. I mean, it could be that, and I'm not talking about any specific case. I promise.
We're listening.
But I promise. But I mean, it could be that they have, an immunity agreement in place. It could be that, they just didn't do much. And so it can also be strategic. It could be like, you've got enough to charge them and you want them to cooperate. So I'm going to put you in this indictment and let you know, hey, if I wanted to charge you, all I got to do is switch the name out. So you better come talk to me and become a state's witness. That happens a lot too. And the other thing I'll tell you too is like Fulton County, we're unique with this unindicted co-conspirator thing. It's more of the feds do it, I think, a little bit more than us. But we try to do things at the on the cutting edge in Fulton County. So we use whatever tool we can.
Unindicted co-conspirator just sounds so sinister that it opens your ears like, oh, okay. Yeah. So tell us, okay. I'm just going to ask. So tell us, I'm going to ask you about Ernest Williams' case. So it's in the filing. Tell us how so tell us about the jail calls and just your perspective in this case, because we've seen it in the filings. We saw you mention Tasha K. Jail calls have been talked about. Tell us what that has meant to the case. Have there been clues? Has there been aha moments? Have there been some connecting the dots? Like, has there, aside from the incessant conversations that the defendant and his pool of friends engage in, has there been useful, helpful information that has can you tell us anything?
Yeah. Well, so let me do my disclaimer again. The indictment is merely an accusation. Everyone's presumed innocent until they're proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And I'll talk, I can kind of answer it in two parts. One, where we used it in the filings was, I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, it's been some time, was the motion for the gag order.
The gag order,
so I think we use those to show, our position that defendant was talking about this stuff and setting up interviews from jail and that kind of thing. But stepping back, just speaking more generally, not about the Ernest Williams case, but just in general, I mean, any case that I have where the defendant is incarcerated, I'm gonna pull those jail calls every time.
But do you have time to listen to the jail calls? Like, are there analysts that do that all day? And specifically, do you have any analysts or people on your team that like, hey, I need for you to go through last month and tell me if you hear anything that we need? Because you did mention a couple of times that there was some conversation that was negative towards the prosecutor's office. You've referenced the jail calls that I'm just like, he's listening. He's listening because he mentioned this, he mentioned that. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So a couple things happen. So we usually will listen to jail calls in any given case around certain critical points. Like if we know a court date's coming up, or if we know a court date has just happened, like those are times that you want to listen to those calls, see if the incarcerated person is going to talk about what's about to happen or what just happened. You always want to listen to when they first get arrested, who is that first person that they call?
Right.
That's often like the best call, because you're going to have like people call their spouse, their side piece, whatever it is, their mom, and the person they call is like, oh my God, why are you in jail? And they're like, oh, I'm in jail because I did credit card fraud. And you're like, thank you for saying that. That was recorded. We appreciate that.
Ding. Okay.
But and so a lot of times like that first couple of weeks is what we're really paying attention to. Anytime there's a bond hearing, you're going to want to pay attention to those jail calls. And so a lot of times what I do and so a couple folks on my team will listen to them, and we have some other people in the office who that's kind of what they do like all the time. And they've got some tools that can like transcribe and analyze, and you can do word searches and that kind of thing. It's pretty cool technology.
Does anything ever get bubbled up through Global Tel Link or through, I don't know, compliance? Do you guys get flags sometimes? Maybe not the prosecutors, but I'm sure the institution, the facility, if they feel like, okay, somebody was talking about something they're not supposed to, like, does that get bubbled up? Do you ever hear about that?
I've never had that happen. I'm not sure if there's like, I know for instance, like Facebook and stuff, if they detect like child sexual exploitation, they'll flag it and report it. But I don't know that.
No, it's fine.
Audio?
I'm good.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I don't know that Global Tel Link or Securus does that, but one of the things we look at is like, people try to get slick with it, right? So it's like, I'm in jail and my cellmate has minutes on his phone, so let me use his number and I'm going to call.
Yes, talk to us about that, please.
Yeah. So we got tools to be able to search by different numbers. Like we can search by who the recipient is. I think some of it even has like voice recognition stuff. I mean, there's a lot of tools. There's a lot.
Tell us, like, is that considered a direct move to evade detection? Like, is that considered? I mean, there could be other reasons. Maybe somebody doesn't have money on their phone. So it could be something as simple as that. But can it, when it's excessive or egregious, is it considered like, okay, you're not even making, because there was a certain point where the defendant that I mentioned, Mr. Williams, pretty much stopped using his own GTL account and started using various others within the facility. Is that, and my opinion, and these are just opinion, and he's innocent until proven guilty, was a direct move to obviously not want to have his calls listened to by, the bloggers or, the public, and or also just to evade the prosecution because, one specifically, one of his supporters or, someone that he talks to regularly often mentions, well, it's just me, you, and the prosecutor on the phone.
I mean, I would say, and remember, like I've got that little piece of public defender still deep in my heart. And, it's not like a crime or anything for anyone to do that. And frankly, defendants, like they don't have to give us any evidence. They don't have to build their own cases against themselves. And so, if I was in jail, I might be doing the same thing, right? And hope the prosecutor's not paying attention.
Okay.
So, I don't see it as like a crime. Now I'll tell you, it could be, depending on the facts of a case, a situation where you might argue to a jury that the fact that a defendant is doing that shows some consciousness of guilt, right? Because they want to avoid the prosecutor being able to find it. So why would they do that if they're not guilty? But I think that would be, you'd have to have real good evidence beyond just that to explain it. like they're only using somebody else's pen to talk about stuff that hurts them. And if that's the case, they're making admissions anyway. So
can you tell us anything revolving around so again, this was a publicly filed. I have to ask. So I don't know if you will tell us or not. There was a particular part. So Nesto's girlfriend was called in. Like we saw a filing, and she was asked to supply some information, like any emails, text messages. I mean, I guess you probably can't tell us what you were looking for, but is there anything that you could tell us, like why, maybe in general terms, why would something like that happen? That you would subpoena somebody who really wasn't maybe involved at the time, but maybe has inserted themselves, and why information they could have procured is relevant, or like, is there anything that you can tell us about that? Because
we'd
love to know.
Again, like going general, but all my cases, I'm paying attention. I'm tuned in. And if I feel like there's a witness that comes out that knows something, I'm always going to try to get that information from them if I think it's relevant to the case, truly relevant to the case.
Okay.
And so one of the things that happens a lot, and this is, no surprise, but people talk to their romantic partner about cases, or, again, just speaking generally, might have their romantic partner out gathering documents or whatever it is.
Okay.
And so in Georgia, if the people are spouses, then that's protected. That's privileged. The spouse doesn't have to talk to you. They don't have to testify against their spouse. They can tell you to, kick rocks. If they're not married, that protection is not there. And so, there's been multiple cases where, it becomes apparent that a romantic partner or whoever has information. I mean, a great case that comes to mind is a case I had in Gwinnett County, and it was a child abuse case, and the child had been beat with a belt, like real bad, like hit the child's skin. It was a horrible case. And basically he had gone and stayed with his dad for a couple of weeks in the summer. His mom had custody, but went to stay with his dad, try to, have a good relationship with his dad, and things went south. So dad's girlfriend is talking to him on the jail phone the whole time. And she's saying, like, I don't want to get subpoenaed. I hope they don't subpoena me. I don't want to testify. So I'm like, well, what's the first thing I'm going to do is subpoena her.
Right.
And in that case, we actually subpoenaed her to bring the belt that the dad used to beat the child.
Oh my God.
I mean, y'all know, like, I like to play checkers, right? So
you just put it out there like, okay, I need you to come in and I need you to bring what I heard about.
Yes.
And did she?
So we subpoenaed her. We had picked a jury in the case, and so she was subpoenaed for trial. So the trial hadn't quite started yet, but we had picked the jury. And then that night, she was talking to him again and said, whatever happens, like they had a child together. She was like, whatever happens, if they subpoena our child, you got to take a plea. You got to take a plea. You got to take a plea. So of course, like, what's the first thing I do the next day is subpoena the child who was a witness to it all. I mean, it was in good faith. He truly was a witness to everything. And then the dad took a plea the next day. So,
so there was already a plea on the table. You had already offered, or they were just like, I'm coming in. They came in on their own, or like they called you for a proffer and they said, we're not a proffer, but we want to negotiate something, or we're ready to come in on a guilty if you're willing to negotiate with us.
It was a weird case. It was when I was in Gwinnett. And so I was in the misdemeanor prosecutor's office. And so the guy was in jail and had actually been in jail for like 6-8 months, something like that. And in Gwinnett County, you get 2 for 1. So the max sentence you can get on a misdemeanor is a year. So if you get a year in jail, you're really doing 6 months. He had served all that time. He just didn't want to take the plea because he had a probation violation on a drug case in another county. Okay. And so he didn't want to violate his probation. And so he finally just was like, I'll take it and just deal with whatever happens. So it was interesting.
So tell us about, my camera keeps cutting and I like this
good.
camera better than my other one. So tell us about, I guess in general, are plea deals common? Like how do plea deals happen? And, how do they happen, not happen?
Yeah.
Are they common in your office? And sometimes are you, like you said, are you playing chess? Are you offering something that's, like a good deal technically, or is any plea offer a good deal? I mean, I guess just tell us.
Yeah. So no, great question. So two things. One is the defendant can always come in and just plead guilty and let the judge sentence them. So they always have that option. But my general practice is I always offer a plea deal, always, because there's benefit to both sides if you can work out a plea. Biggest thing is I don't want to have to put my victims through the trial process. And so I'm always going to offer a plea deal. Now, is it going to be the one that the defendant wants? It depends on the case, right? I mean, there's been times where I've offered somebody like 45 years in prison for shooting somebody, and they're not going to take it. Or there's been times where you offer somebody straight probation, and it's a pretty good thing to take. But I think every prosecutor has a little bit of a different strategy. My strategy is always, my plea offer is only going to get worse as things progress, because unless something dramatic happens with the case, right? Like if the case falls apart, if I can't prosecute the case, I'm gonna dismiss it anyway. But my philosophy has always been, I'm gonna give you my best deal early because it's more economical, it's more efficient, it saves the victims the anguish of having to wait and see what happens. And so the worst deal you're gonna get is the one right before trial for me.
Okay, so let me ask you. So has there and I think and what's your process when you offer a plea? Are you offering it with the defense attorney on the phone, or are you sending it in an email? Because I know Erica King mentioned she had something in her email, but I think you were on the Trump case at the time, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So that didn't necessarily come from you. But when you reworked the deal with Erica King that day in court, that was you ended up penning that particular deal. You put that one together. Yes. So typically, is it going to just be something between you and the defense attorneys, or is it going to be, okay, this is what I structured and you put it on the record? How does that work when you do, like, would we know? I'm going to just ask you straight up. If Ernest Williams had gotten a plea deal by now, would we know it? Would it be on the record, or how would, has he gotten I got questions.
So I can't answer specific to his case. All that still, can't talk about that. But what I can say is what my general practice is I'm always going to email a plea deal in every case.
Okay.
And then, there's all these different court dates that happen, and in different counties, they're called different things. But in Fulton County, we have, and I'm sure y'all are familiar with the term, the final plea date. And so I think in the Williams case, we may have had a final plea date, but not like a final plea date, if that makes sense, because there's still some things that are pending. But my general practice is before the final plea date, like usually a few days before, I've already communicated an offer generally to a defendant through the defense attorney, almost always through email. But my general practice is a couple days before the actual final plea date, I usually file in the last offer so that it's on the record, because one of the things that,
so whether they accept it or not, it's on the record.
Yeah.
And then if it's not accepted, then it's just
goes to trial. And the reason for it is because sometimes you'll have a situation where, a defendant goes to trial and they get convicted and they get sentenced to, 100 years or whatever. And it turns out that the prosecutor had offered them like a plea deal for like 10 years. And then they come up and say, hey, I didn't know that. My lawyer never told me that. Like I would have pled guilty if I knew that. And so I shouldn't have never had a trial in the first place. So I always put it on the record to make sure that it is out there. The defendant knows, the court knows, everybody knows. So nobody can come back on the back end and say, oh, I didn't know that there was a plea deal.
Do the defendants have access to like a kiosk at Rice Street? I mean, obviously, if someone's out on bail, they can log into the computer and check the status on their case and see if there's anything new. If somebody is in custody, do they have access to like a kiosk to be able to look up their case, or how do they find that out?
I don't know.
Okay.
That I don't know. But I generally will put that offer on the record in open court too, just to make sure that it's filed in and it's, you know, in the court record. I like to be extra safe.
To make sure that they're aware. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So all right. That's so let me see. I don't know if anyone in our audience has any questions. I did just start looking at the like I think I told you this before, the Angel Marie Thompson case.
Yes.
It is a fascinating case, and I saw it on the news. I started reading the indictment and didn't realize, like, is there anything that you can tell us about? I got to the part about Craigslist. Was there traffic? Like, was this, it's the allegations of trafficking, I'm assuming, or the Craigslist postings, were those to traffic a particular person, not obviously the victim, who is, because Will has a case. This person, it's a RICO, and there's murder also in the case. The Craigslist postings, I was just curious about that. Was that was that person also engaging in trafficking? Like, are there other victims outside of the victim that was murdered? Maybe that's a better question. Are there additional victims?
Again, let me give my disclaimer of an indictment is only an accusation, right, and everyone's presumed innocent until they're proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I can't speak beyond what's specifically alleged in the indictment. If you look at that indictment, there's excerpts from some Craigslist posts that I think kind of speak for themselves. And also those posts occurred after the alleged date of the murder.
Right.
So, you know, draw from that what you will.
So there's just a lot. Yeah. It's a lot.
And then I'll also say, you know, again, speaking generally, you know, that's a cold case. So it occurred like, it was 2007. Is that right?
Right. So there was like a lot of time in between to.
And so, you know, again, speaking generally to cold cases, one of the challenges that you run into with cold cases often is that you know that a crime was committed, but, you know, especially in a trafficking case where aliases are used and burner phones are used, and it's often in cold cases very difficult to track down specifically who certain people were. Again, not speaking to the specifics of that case, but just in general, you know, that's one of the big challenges with these cold cases.
So let me ask you this, because this is really interesting. So when you get a case and you maybe are talking to a detective or maybe an officer or something, and they're just like, look, I found this, but there's this. Do you take it from there, or once someone is charged, are the detectives still working on those cases? Or once it comes to the prosecutor's office, I know I've heard Fani Willis say that anytime they get a case, her office starts to do their own investigation to validate the case before they move it further. How does it develop from a cold, not this one specifically, but anything where not even just a hunch, but you've got a detective that really is collecting a lot of information and know that there's something going on. We know that there's this, but we've got evidence of these other things. Here you go. Like, do they just hand it off to you, or do they still kind of work to develop those leads to find out like what's actually really going on? Like, how do you partner with law enforcement at a certain point to say, I think there's more there. Can you go back and check on this? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So we're very fortunate in the white collar unit. We've got, you know, each of the agencies in Fulton County usually have just a couple of detectives doing these fraud cases, working up these fraud cases. And so we have good relationships with most of the fraud. When I say good, we have good relationships with all the ones that we have relationships with. And there's a few newbies out there too, but good, close working relationships with these detectives doing these fraud cases. And so a lot of times what happens now, And that's something that we really worked to foster when I came in 2021, is to get those relationships to this level where they will come to us early on a lot, come to me, come to the other attorneys and investigators on my team and say, hey, I think I've got something. Can we talk about it? And so it's very, very often that we are meeting with them early on in the case and helping kind of guide how the investigation goes and say like, hey, why don't you, why don't you look at this? Why don't you do this search warrant? Why don't you do that? And so usually we try to get the detectives to do as much of the complete investigation as they can before they hand it off to our unit. And then we will reinvestigate the case. And what I mean is we'll review everything and then see if there's other things that we need to get. But we've gotten to a pretty good place where, most of these fraud detectives are getting us everything that we need from the jump, and they come to us very early on. Now, there's been some cases, especially earlier on, where we have had to piece things together and not going into any specific cases, but there's been some cases where we have done the entire investigation in our unit. So it depends, but we're in a pretty good spot now with our fraud detectives.
What about cell phone data? Like, okay, so I know that they can cell bright the phones or whatever technology, whatever particular law enforcement uses, but when you get that, so number one, I guess one of the things that maybe some people know or don't know, I mean, you could take custody of someone's phone, but if they don't give you the code, you may or may not be able to cell bright access that data, right?
Right.
I guess the way around it is contact Facebook, contact iCloud, or contact whomever and try to access app by app versus being able to access the phone. Like, how clutch is the phone these days? Like, the phone is everything.
The phone, right? Phone is everything. I mean, if we can get into, especially in a fraud case where so many of our cases are, people doing things on Zelle and Cash App and Venmo and Apple Pay, where it's just all in one place. But, to your point,
if they don't give you access, I think people are learning now that you don't necessarily have to unlock your phone or give the code.
Right. And we have, we have technology that can try to crack those codes, and, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But
I've heard it can take up to 3 years. Like, you could actually have your phone scrambling for 3 years to actually break it, and it still won't. It may not.
Like I personally, on my phone, I have an 8-digit passcode. No, is it 8 digits? No, it makes 10.
It's long. It's long. Don't tell anybody. It's long.
I think it's 10. But to your point though, with iCloud, like if you have an iPhone and you back it up to iCloud, we basically can see everything anyway. And so, there's always a way in. If you can, if you're persistent enough, you can find your way in.
So is this, because I do watch a lot of true crime. Is this really this type of evidence, is this really helping the realm of circumstantial cases? Because I'm following a case now in Charlotte where a woman has been accused of killing her husband. It's been alleged. And she did some searches about like what to do if your husband wants to divorce you and you have no money. She did a search for I forgot what it was called, but basically like a center mass wound or something. Researching different types of kill shots and something else. And he's dead. Then of course it's the conflicting stories, and now she's got a murder charge. But they were investigating her, I guess, for a couple of months. I mean, and they took her phone after I guess they came and collected the body, and then they ended up getting her phone. And then 3 months later, she's charged with murder. Is this now kind of helping with this type of data, be able to, because I'm sure there were probably times where people know that someone did something, but you can't really prove it. So all of this data, the computers, the phones, it's really helping with not even circumstantial cases. Well, maybe it is circumstantial because maybe,
it's like both for sure.
Like, he killed himself, not I killed him. So you've got the dead person can't tell you what happened. So you'll have one version of the story and it seems plausible, but then you start doing a further investigation, you realize it was something else. So I guess about that, have you been on the wrong track before, or is it like, I guess, tell us when you kind of like, wow, I didn't know this person was even going to be involved, or I guess, can you tell us about any cases you've had like that where you just kind of like, I had no idea?
Or, I mean, I can think there's
all the time.
Yeah, like there's a case. I'm like the only one that comes to mind, and is less that like, oh, we found this person that was involved that we didn't think was involved. More, it's been like detective thought somebody was involved, and we took a closer look, and we're just like, how would we prove that? Like, I mean, like for instance, there was a case one time where we charged like either a husband or a wife, and some of the money was routing through the other spouse's bank account. And so the detective was like, we got to charge both. And it's like, well, but how do we prove, spouses share bank accounts, and sometimes one person is in control of the finances, the other person's not. How will we prove that beyond just the money funneling through? So that's the only thing I can think of as far as like evidence kind of really turning the case. But, phones, they record everything that you're doing all the time. The thing that comes to mind, not my case, but one of the things that comes to mind is, did you follow the Alec Murdaugh case?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that case, I followed that one like every day. I was watching what was going on at the trial. And like, you remember there was that part where like the OnStar data on the the car, they were able to match up the OnStar data with like her phone that was found in the woods,
her steps. Yeah.
And they could see like that the vehicle had slowed down and that the window rolled down.
Okay, that that it would have been that he potentially threw her phone out of the vehicle after the time that she was killed.
Right.
That they did such amazing work. Oh my God, was he called a solicitor?
Yes.
He was the state.
So,
attorney.
So they're actually, I think it was the Attorney General's office that did that case. But in South Carolina, I know we had talked about this, but to those who don't know, I'm from South Carolina, born and raised in Columbia, and they call their DAs solicitors, which is a little different. But yeah, that one was crazy to me, even just to see that, like, wow, even the car is tracking everything that you're doing. And
the car is tracking your steps. And the speed and everything. So and I mean, look at the Teslas. The Teslas, the Teslas going to be, Teslas are clutch in cases now. So because it's videoing, it's recording, it's got biometrics, it's got everything. If anyone, hey Nyla, if anyone has any questions, I don't know if anyone has any questions. Hi, Kathy. How are you? Does anyone have any questions for Will? I mean, this has been amazing. I hope I asked a lot of the good questions.
Yeah. And hey, I'm gonna throw it out there. Like, as we get closer to election day, I'm totally down to come back again.
Okay,
I'll tell.
Let me tell you, you've got some fans here. Like I said, we really, we follow some of your cases, and it's, you got some fans. I'm just gonna say it like that. I don't want to fangirl and everything, but I mean, definitely you've got some fans here, and appreciate the work that you do and the way that you do it. So. Absolutely. So I'm sure any of the folks in Georgia. So tell us again the date for the Georgia election. It's May 19th, right?
So May 19th.
And tell us what you're running for.
Running for the Georgia Court of Appeals statewide election. So everyone in the state of Georgia, I'm going to be on your ballot. Doesn't matter, Democrat, Republican, independent, nonpartisan. I'm going to be on every single one. May 19th is my final day, right? So whoever's got the most votes after May 19th is going to be in office on January 1st, 2027. Other thing I would throw out there is, if y'all are able to follow my social media, it's everything is Wooten for GA. So Instagram, TikTok.
I have it
Twitter
pinned
got banned.
here.
I don't know why, but
your Twitter got banned. That's a weird platform. I did pin your website, and I think all of that's on there, but I'll share it on my my community page. Tell us about the Georgia Court of Appeals. Tell us how it works. Tell us how tell us about it. Like, tell us what you would even do to prepare. Would you have like a mentor as you become a judge? Like, how would that work to get you from today a deputy district attorney? Let's just say this is May 20th and you find out, hey, you just won the election. You're going to be a judge in 2027. How do you prepare for that seat? And how long is the seat for if you are successful in your run?
So this is going to sound a little bit like the politician answer, but it's the truth. Like, I've been preparing since law school. I've been preparing since law school every single day, every case that I've had. You know, one of the things that is very important to me is remembering that these cases are people, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, for the prosecutors, it's a little different for me because I dig in so deep into some of these cases. But, you know, for the judges, so often they get this tiny snippet of the facts of the case and they make a decision. And then, you know, the next day it's a different case or 10 different cases or 20 different cases. And so I think sometimes it gets lost remembering that these are real people. The defendants are real people. The victims are real people, the witnesses. And frankly, nobody wants to be there. No, you know, the defendant doesn't want to be charged. The victims don't want to have been victims of a crime. And so you know, you're dealing with folks in a very vulnerable time, and a time where, you know, something terrible has happened to them, regardless of what side they're on. Right. And so, you know, I think one of the most important things for judges to remember, and all of my experience leading up to this point has taught me this, is just remembering that these are real people, and the decisions that a judge makes, that could change someone's life forever. And as the judge, you may not think about it the next week or the next month or the next year. So you got to be prepared in every single case to do the right thing every single time. And, you know, keep yourself disciplined, keep yourself remembering, you know, what it's all about. And so, so the court, just a little information on the court, there's 15 judges on the Court of Appeals in Georgia. So one of the things that I think is a surprise to some folks is that the Court of Appeals, even though we have the Supreme Court, and that's like the highest court in the state, the Court of Appeals has the last word on the overwhelming majority of cases. Like 80 to 90% of cases end at the Court of Appeals. So for most cases, when someone's been convicted of a crime, or let's say you get in a car wreck and you go to trial and the outcome is not what you think it ought to be, most of the time the Court of Appeals is going to be the last court that reviews that. Because the Court of Appeals has to take every appeal that comes to it. Whereas the Supreme Court, they have discretion. And so they're only taking the cases that meet a certain standard, that are of, you know, statewide importance, or a new issue that hasn't come up before, or something that's likely to reoccur in the future. And so, you know, we all know about the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, the Georgia Supreme Court. We all think of them as like the last word, but the truth is, for the overwhelming majority, the Court of Appeals is going to be the last word. Okay.
So coming in, how does it work? So people are submitting cases for review, or they're submitting decisions for review. So, and is it sitting in front of a judge immediately, or is it going for some sort of a review board and then it goes to a panel? How does the appeals process work? Be it either in a decision that was made, or a actual entire case that maybe someone's disputing an unfair verdict or something like that, or mistakes that were made during a trial.
So typically what's in most cases that go up on appeal, they're going to be assigned to a 3-judge panel. So 3 out of the 15 judges will consider that case and will make a decision. They kind of split it that way. And then if you don't like the outcome of what that panel has ruled, then you can apply for what's called an en banc review, French word, which basically means you're asking that all 15 judges consider the case. And so it's very rare for that to happen. It does happen from time to time, but it is pretty rare. And so most of the time, the judges are going to decide your case based on just the pleadings, what's been filed in. They do oral arguments in a significant number of cases, but not in every single case. So a lot of times in the Court of Appeal, the case won't even see the courtroom. It'll just, you know, be decided on what's been, you know, drafted in the pleadings, the record from the court below. And then to go back, if you don't like what the panel did, the 3-judge panel did, then you ask for all 15 judges to hear the case, and they hear it and you don't like what they did, or if they don't hear it, then you can apply to appeal to the Supreme Court, and you file what's called a petition for writ of certiorari. You're asking basically the court to grant you permission to appeal the case. And then it's up to them to decide whether or not they're going to take it or not. There's a few circumstances where the Supreme Court has to take a case. Murder cases, they have to take all murder cases, and those cases go directly to them, skip the Court of Appeals. And then also certain cases involving like constitutional questions will go straight to the Supreme Court, like new constitutional questions, but everything else goes to the Court of Appeals pretty much.
Okay. So this is really exciting. So I guess outside of, so did it just feel like a natural progression? Like it was just your time to move from the role that you're in now? Is it just perfect timing? Like this seat was vacant, or this seat is it's up for reelection. So were you how did you identify this particular, maybe you said that earlier, but I guess, can you tell us, for some of the folks that have just come in, like, why now? And, also, I guess, just let everyone know what we can do, again, to support you.
Yeah. So, a couple of reasons, like I talked about, I had been thinking about running for office for a while, and, we saw how the Trump case ended, and I'm challenging the judge that wrote that decision that disqualified DA Fani Willis, and therefore our entire office from prosecuting that case, led to the case's dismissal ultimately. And so, looked at all the judges that were up for election. That was one that I knew I was not happy with the result of a case in particular. And, the rules prohibit me from digging into criticizing any particular decision. But one thing that I would encourage, if folks want to read an opposing view on that case, the dissent in that case is a very scathing dissent, and it was written by then Judge Ben Land, who was on the Court of Appeals, has since been appointed to the Georgia Supreme Court. I just encourage folks to read that dissent, and maybe something good, to read on the channel one day. But in looking at the judges that were up for election, here's the bottom line. The bottom line is, I feel like a lot of folks in Georgia and probably across the whole country, we see what's going on in the courts, we see what's going on in the system, and it almost feels like there's this one system of justice for people who are powerful, who are connected, who hold political office, whatever it is, and then there's this other system of justice for everyone else. And it sometimes feels like if you're just a normal everyday person, you don't get that same fair shake that powerful connected people do. That's not how it's supposed to work, right? That's not how the law is supposed to work. And so if we're going to have a system that is, under the rule of law, that rule of law has to apply the same way to everyone. I've seen how it hasn't always applied in the same way. And like I said, I've always been a person who's felt like, let me stand up and do something. And so in seeing how that has played out over the past couple of years, not just in Georgia, but elsewhere, seeing how our courts have, in some instances, strayed away from the law and made decisions that, maybe for political reasons or other reasons, I felt like, hey, I'm a person I trust. I don't like to talk highly of myself. It's not my favorite thing to do, but I know that I'm always going to do the right thing, or do what I believe is the right thing.
Right.
Even if it's not the most popular thing, even if it's not going to benefit me or people aligned with me or whatever it is, but I always go for what's the right thing. And so I think we need judges who are ready to do the right thing every single time. I think, again, talking about, my opponent, and again, look at that dissent, take a look at what the other judge had to say. But if you cannot trust a judge to do the right thing in the most high profile case, the case that everybody is watching, paying attention to, if you can't trust a judge to do the right thing, then what are they doing in the cases that no one's paying attention to? What are they doing in the cases where it's, an 18-year-old kid who's been convicted of armed robbery and, had a public defender that had 350 other cases, and whatever the facts are, like, what is happening in those cases where we're not paying attention? And we need judges who are going to do the right thing in those cases. So I've been on the defense, I've been on the prosecution. I believe in our system. I truly believe in our system, but it depends on having the right folks there making the decisions. And I'm that person. I know I'm that person, and I'm ready to step into that role. So that's why now your second question is, how can people support? Biggest thing is I'm asking the Bougie Gang stand up with contributions. We got that link.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And we got, what is it? I think 41 days left until election day. We're about to start hitting the airways with ads, radio, TV. You'll probably see us on, Facebook, YouTube, Hulu, everything. And that stuff is real expensive right now. I'll just be honest, especially with the governor's primaries.
And if you know somebody in Georgia, share this live with them. If you're not in Georgia and you've got friends in Georgia and you want them to know who's running for a seat on the appeals court, you could let them know, share this with them, and that might help if they want to get to know somebody.
Follow the social media accounts, Wooten for GA. And I've been posting, I got to actually post one now. I've been posting every day, just a short little video that's a countdown asking people what to do. So every day's themed. If you follow, you'll see like some days I'm asking for a small contribution. Some days I'm asking that you reshare a post. Some days I'm asking that you text a friend and just tell them some information about the race. So, we got to hit the grassroots efforts too. We got a lot of miles and a lot of ground to cover, but we're doing it. We're doing it. We're going to make it happen.
So tell us also again, May 20th, you just got the election results in. What happens to the Wooten DDA desk? Like, what happens? We want you to be successful. We want everyone, no matter how much we enjoy somebody's work and know that they're doing a great job at their desk, we have to also allow people to move up and move out. What happens to your desk? What happens to your cases? Like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Who's going to take over for you? What happens?
Well, I'll tell you, May 20th, that desk is going to be empty. I'm going to be asleep all day.
Oh no, you're going to take the day off.
Okay. I'm taking the day off. Whatever happens. Okay. Yeah, I'm off on May 20th, maybe May 21st too. But whenever I'm back in the office, hopefully I have won. And I've got a great team. The white collar team, we have built something really special. A group of people that we care about each other. We work really well together, and we've built.
We know Adam Abadi. We know Adam's on your team, right?
He is 2 levels above me in the chain of command. So he's like a chief. He's in our division. He's the executive district attorney for major.
So he reports direct to Fani.
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm confident that the good work's going to continue, and I will still be there. I was going to say if I win, but when I win,
yes,
I will still be there through. I wouldn't take office until January 1st. So I'm going to be there as long as Madam DA will have me. I love the work that I do. I love it. I just love it. But
we can tell that you love it. We can tell. So tell us, so someone is asking here, will you finish Nesto's case? So Ernest Williams, would you, as far as any of your cases, I guess, if you can answer kind of a broad question, you'll be working until at least January 1st. And then obviously there's a whole team there.
Yeah. I'll stay on my cases, as long as I'm still in the office, which will, should be through the end of the year. I'll stay on those cases and keep doing the work that I've been doing. And if the judges call us in for court, we'll do it. If I end up, going to trial on something, we'll go to trial.
Let me see. Let's see. Does the jail provide notary services?
I think they do. I think they actually do, because I think certain filings have to be notarized. So I think they do, believe it or not.
Good question. I'm trying to see if I missed your question. I apologize.
And let me just say, whoever threw the comment out that said they have a PhD in noseology, that is hilarious. I kind of do too. I
don't want to put you on the spot, but people are making lots of comments about the smile, the teeth. That you have nice teeth, nice smile.
Thank you.
People they're happy to meet you, get to know you a little bit. if I missed anyone's question, I apologize, you guys. What happened? So what happens to Nessa? They're very concerned. You know, we are invested over here in an outcome on the case. So whatever the outcome might be, we don't want to put you on the spot for anything like that. But we're just we're hopeful for an outcome for the victims of the case, and however it plays out. We'd like to see we'd love to see you in action in the courtroom, but we understand if you've got now, where would your new office be? Is it across the street? Like, have you your commute to work?
My commute would be the same. It's like
and is that sort of work from home? You have to go into the office every day?
Yeah. Well,
get one of those black question. What do you get? What's the outfit for the judge? Do you get one of the robes?
I would get the robe. I would do that.
Are you going to do like the no collar? Is there a dress code that you must have a collar? Like, some people are very kind of fancy with their judicial attire. Some of the ladies wear beautiful pearls. Some people blouses and bows. And I guess maybe the women are a little more showy with it, but
you never know. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Y'all know I like to have like a good tie that pops or something.
Okay.
So we'll see.
So is blue your favorite color? I'm just going on a speed round because we see that I feel like you like blue.
Yes, that is definitely my favorite color. Okay. I do have several blue suits.
Okay.
Different patterns and different shades, but it's so funny that you bring that up too, because I've had this debate with people and they're like, you got to get a black suit. I'm like, I don't, no, it's blue or sometimes gray. The gray suit comes out every once in a while.
It works for you. You know what I mean? Some people get your color. If you feel like blue,
I love it.
Your color.
Y'all know that already.
Feel good. All of the things you got to go with what.
Now, one secret though is that anytime I have a trial on the first day of trial when we're doing jury selection, purple tie, and I call it my jury purple because number one, it's the color of royalty.
Okay.
Number two, it's calming, and number three, politics. We got red and blue, so I don't want to go to either one of those. So let's do purple. It's the combination of both.
Okay, and is that a lucky? What's your conviction rate? Can you throw us out some accolades? Give us. I know you don't want to brag on yourself, but
no, I'll be honest.
Are you like the feds with like the 95, 98% conviction rate? Like what? I feel like Fani gave us some stats recently that were kind of like, I think in the sex crimes.
They have some
really
they're like 100%. I think. My rate. I'll be honest. I don't even know what it is, but I've got no shame. Like what I'll tell you is I have won plenty of trials. I've lost plenty of trials. I lost a trial against a pro se defendant one time.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the name of the game. Like you never
know.
Like
scratching your head, like what happened? Was the person brilliant? Did they turn out to be brilliant, or was like what happened? Was the jury just kind of like, oh, we feel sorry for him, and you're too smart?
I think
were you too smart, or was he like?
He was in the Miami Dolphins jersey. That was his attire on day one of trial. So I'll throw that out there for what it is.
Is there any television footage of this?
No, unfortunately. Unfortunately. It was it is kind of a sad situation. It was a domestic violence case.
Okay.
And we spoke with some of the jurors after. And unfortunately, we see this happen where the victim in the case had gone. There had been multiple instances of domestic violence, and she had gone back to him several times. And I think they held that against her, unfortunately. And they were like, well, if you kept going back to him, it was what it was. So it was unfortunate.
Okay. Well, that's kind of one of those things beyond your control.
Yep.
So even if he were guilty, they just felt, I guess, maybe some extenuating circumstances.
Yes.
So not necessarily reasonable doubt, but would you call that reasonable doubt that I
would call that one what we call sometimes as jury nullification, where like the jury will, because I actually remember in that case talking to one of the jurors and he said, we know he did it and God's going to get him. And I'm like, but what, like,
but that's what you pay us for. Right? Yeah.
But that's the system that we have. And, when a jury acquits, that's all 12 of the jurors voting to acquit. That's the system playing out. And, I respect what the verdict is. So
Absolutely.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Y'all, am I forgetting anything? So, okay, we definitely want to take you up on your offer. Do you follow any other true crime? Like, are there cases outside of your cases? Because we know you're busy, you got lots of homework. You're filing 277 page documents. You don't necessarily have time for TV, but are you watching anything? Are there any cases of national interest? Like, were you watching Corey Richins?
I was watching. I watched
what are you
Murdaugh.
watching? Okay.
I watched Murdaugh the whole time, and I watched the guy. Gosh, what was his name? He represented himself in Wisconsin. The guy who drove through I think it was a Christmas parade.
Was it what's his name, you guys? Is it Richard? Okay, and he was a pro se.
Yeah,
He's pro se also. Oh my god, I cannot think of his name.
And I know this is
I know
cheesy,
some
but
people here watched it.
Yeah, what was his name?
Daryl Brooks.
Brooks. Yeah. Follow that one. Terrible set of facts.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Lately, I have not been following too many because it's just life's been crazy.
So much going on.
But I get the one. Oh, what was the one? I followed the Idaho murders a little bit.
Okay, Koberger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then the woman who was charged with killing her husband, like in Boston, and they had a couple different. I think they had 2 trials, and he was like a police officer or something.
Oh, Karen Reed. You're talking about Karen?
Is that Karen Reed? Yeah, I followed.
What was her boyfriend? One. And he got hit. They said he got hit by the back of the Cadillac, and he ended up. Yeah, that was an interesting. There's a lot going on in that area, so that was. But yeah, she was completely acquitted. They're involved in some like civil litigation now, but some of that law enforcement group, that police department is involved in something else.
There was some stuff going on.
There's a lot of questions over there. Yeah. There was a murder of a young lady who was it's like a whole thing. There's a lot going on over there. So they uncovered kind of a perfect storm of some alleged corruption. I'll just say it like that.
Yeah. And then I followed. There was one a couple weeks ago where the defense attorneys kept getting in trouble by the judge. I shouldn't laugh, but like it was kind of funny.
Yeah. Down in Georgia?
No, I don't think it was in Georgia. It was a judge with like a very deep voice. And he kind of like chewed on the defense attorney a couple times. I can't think of what it was called or what the defendant's name was, but
were you keeping up with what happened with Carly Russell?
No.
Let's see, what else, guys? Anything else? Someone said, I think yes. Okay, yes.
Yes. I've been in the bushes for a while. Been in the bushes for a while.
You hit the like button.
No. I've never interacted. Okay. But I'll tell you, like, one of the things that's been
it's okay. I appreciate you. That's the most important thing.
And one of the things that's been so, unique about, you and other creators covering some of these cases is that it's so helpful to get insight into, I mean, I don't want to say a regular person because you and your audience in the Bucci gang, y'all are way above average. Like y'all know this stuff. Y'all know this stuff. But like to get get that response from people in the community and understand how a juror might approach something and what a juror is going to think about something in any case is just really unique insight. I'll just put it like that. Very unique insight. And to see like if some of the arguments make sense to just make sense, and like I remember, I can't remember if it was your channel or Pam's channel talking about the RICO, like sub A versus sub C. And I've seen everybody in the chat.
Sure that had to be Pam.
Like Pam knowing exactly what it was, which was just very cool to see.
Well, I feel like I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like even in just the past 2 or 3 years, I have definitely learned a lot. I feel like I've learned a lot over the years anyway, just because I've always kind of been a true crimer and a news junkie, but definitely immersing more into the documents, the filings, and then also getting into looking things up that you don't know what they mean. And so just trying to relate that to what we're currently looking at. So yeah, it's been super helpful. Then obviously we have bloggers like Pam. Pam is an attorney out of Detroit, and she's super knowledgeable. I'm sure you've maybe even seen her in the courtroom. And I mean, I feel like there's just there's a collective of some smart people. There's tons of smart people on YouTube, so let me just say it like that. But definitely, you know, we have this community that has been covering the case in particular, that one of them that's on your desk. There is definitely a collective of some smart folks, and even more smart audience that's just very savvy. It's very diverse. But also just throw out the good questions, and just also I feel like it is kind of a think tank, because I don't think the same way as maybe someone else does, which isn't a good or bad thing, but also just being able to get that kind of like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's interesting perspective. It really is enlightening. So this particular case has really done a lot for me, even personally, but we do enjoy your work. I mean, we love a good, I'm telling, like my afternoon when I see, oh my God, Will filed something. I'm just like, okay, guys, we're live. We're getting let's read. Because it's interesting. And I feel like every single time we learn something new, learn a new process, or it's just the case progressing as well. So it's not so much necessarily the individual. It is a fascinating case, but I think also the details have been it's been an interesting situation. Do you have a lot of cases though? So let's circle back one more time.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of cases where this has been going on for a long time? Like, let's just say, you know, Williams' case has been going on for quite some time. The indictment is 2 years old. Do you think we're going to see a resolve in the next, you know, is it next year? Is there court next week? Can you confirm court next week?
There is court next week.
Do that one first, the easy one. Okay. there is court next week.
I'll just say, whatever happens in court, you know, the court date is really just to figure out kind of where we're going. So I think that it'll probably answer some of those questions without me directly commenting.
Tell us about the two. So you have the RICO, there's the PGR indictment, there's the Strawberry indictment, then there's also Winfrey's case. Those three cases, PGR, Strawberry, and the RICO, are all yours. Will you get Dunaway? Will Dunaway make a decision about, because those are still not all merged together,
right? No,
do you foresee that being merged together? The Strawberry, the PGR, and the RICO, are those going to be moved into the RICO?
So, you know, we've moved the judge to put them all together, but
yeah,
you know, all those things are ultimately the court's decision, and you know, we'll see what the judge does. I can't really comment too much on that type of thing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what about when you have two very different cases sitting on the calendar at the same time with the same defendant? How does that work? It appears that the RICO, that one case is taking precedence over another? Is it because that was the first case that kind of came up on the roster, but it just shows up in the scheduling at the same time?
It's always just going to depend on it's all up to the judge on scheduling. And so I think every judge has a little bit of a different, you know, standard practice on how they do that. So, and again, I think, you know, in that case, we'll know more once we're in court next week.
Somebody asked, and I think I asked, so somebody asked, do you know Joey? Which Joey is a regular here. You don't know who Joey is? Okay. What was it like? Did you meet Shirley? Well, you would have. She's a victim, and she came and testified. Did she?
I probably can't go into that other than what we saw.
So after the case is adjudicated and you're sitting on the bench and all of the things, will you be able to come back and tell us what we want to know about this case? Will you be able to tell us one day
what I can say?
What we really want to know?
to the extent I'm allowed to under the law and the rules.
Oh my God, because you'll be a judge.
I will commit to the extent I'm allowed, if I'm allowed, or if things resolve before that point,
you'll be able to give. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, because we don't want to mess anything up. I'm gonna just say I'm sure she was wonderful as a person. Okay, so anything else that we need to know? We need to remind everyone again, May 19th. If you know anybody in Georgia, send them this live, send them Will's social media. Maybe if you would like to repost if you can. Everyone doesn't have social media, but if you do and you would like to share, please do.
And the other thing too,
and if you'd like to donate.
If folks have questions too about the race, about the election, or anything like that, see that can't answer that one. But if you have questions about the race, I mean, you can drop a question on the social media too, and it's me responding to those questions. So anything that I'm allowed to respond to or allowed to answer, I will.
Can you debunk something? Okay, on one of the discoveries, there's like a discovery filings. If you have something that says defendant interview, is that a law enforcement interview potentially, or is that an interview that they could have potentially had with the prosecutor, like a conversation? Like what is a defendant interview?
I'll tell you, like generally in my practice,
generally, not
labeling folders and stuff. Generally, it's going to be just anything that's received from law enforcement. Generally,
so if the detectives had a conversation with a particular person,
because usually by the time I'm involved, the defendant's got a lawyer and is not going to talk.
Right. So. Okay. I'm sure we still have a million questions, but we want to take you up on the offer. Please be afraid to come back.
Yes.
Don't block me. Don't block my number.
No, I won't.
We'd love to have you come back. So whenever you want to come back, really, it's an open invitation. Just let me know when you want to.
I will.
My calendar's pretty much, it's open.
Yeah.
And we enjoy you so much. So,
thank you.
I'm sure there's other stuff that we could talk about. Is there anything else you would be remiss with dropping off and not telling us about? Is there anything? I don't want to leave.
I mean, really just thank you guys for being engaged in the process and for paying attention to what's going on in the courts, because, like I said at the outset, I think it's important that all of us in the government are transparent about what's going on. And that really depends on people being interested in asserting their right to know what's going on. So I just really appreciate everyone paying attention and being engaged.
So like people who are true crimers, bloggers, stuff like that, it doesn't necessarily, you don't find that to be a hindrance to the process.
No.
People who have an interest in the system, in law enforcement, or in how the judicial process works on the state level, or however.
No, okay. I think people should, I think, again, like I'm a public servant and we work for the people. And I think it's important that the people pay attention, know what's going on, to hold us accountable. I mean, we took an oath to do the right thing, and it's up to people in the community to keep us to our word.
Sometimes do you show up to court and say, like, gosh, I wish some people were here. Like, there really should be an audience for this. Like, we did our damn thing today. Like, I wish there was, I wish some of the community would have turned out. Not that you're putting on a show, but just not from a putting on a show perspective, but just from a observing, like, this was really important. Like, something really important happened today. I wish that that the media had turned up just to be able to tell our community about what they're paying for, what just happened here, that this was something important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I will say, when I'm in the courtroom, I'm so in the zone that I'm not even paying attention to anything that's going on behind me. I'm just locked in with the judge. And but there's stuff all the time, not just in my cases, but in other cases, that I think, like, wow, the community should know about this. So, I just appreciate you guys showing up and remember, like, all court is open to the public. So no matter what city you're in, no matter what state you're in, I would suggest that folks sometimes just go to the courthouse and just see what's going on. You have a right to know. And so it's important to stay engaged in that way.
Okay. Well, I want to apologize. I don't know. My camera is just, I don't know. I feel like it's overheating. It's doing something. So, my apologies. So we'll get that straightened out for the next time. But thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us today. This was so much fun. And thank you to everybody who turned out. I know you have a lot of support here, and I will definitely share your social media. This is
Thank you
already
so
on
much.
Facebook. But if you want to come back before election day, please feel free to do so.
Absolutely.
Or however you want to do it.
That.
Just let us know. Yep. We'd like to be able to help and, give you an opportunity to come to the platform and state your piece. And we'll try to, get you some registered voters who in Georgia who can come out
and the deadline to register is the 20th. So if you're not registered, make sure you go get that taken care of. If you are registered, 20th of April, right? Yeah. And if you are registered, check on your registration status just to make sure that everything's good. Make
sure you're good to go.
Yeah.
But if someone voted last November or whenever you guys last had an election, they should be
good.
Most people know that they're current.
Should be
if
good.
You're not sure, you might not be current. You might want to check and make sure. Okay. Oh, I've got some Georgia voters here. Okay. All my Georgia voters, consider Mr. Wooten for your next judge, your next appeals court judge. So definitely, every vote counts. Are these highly voted elections? Do you know the numbers? Have you been doing like that, the data work to know what you need and where the votes are for you?
Yeah.
We don't want to. Don't talk too much because people could be listening. So Don't give out the sauce.
No inside information.
Yeah, no. We don't help. We don't help anybody over here. We don't.
A lot of times the primaries are lower turnout than the general. I mean, almost always they're lower turnout than the general. But people are engaged right now, and people are showing up right now, and we're seeing races across the country where the numbers of voters showing up on these primaries is up. So, let me just say it this way. I got to get a lot of votes. So everybody that's watching, if you're in Georgia, I need your vote, and I need you to tell 5 friends, 10 friends, 20 friends. If you're in civic groups, please bring my name up. And
civic groups, sororities, fraternities.
Yes, Divine Nine. I need every bit of support that I can. Church groups, anything, just to help get the word out and let people know that these judge elections are on the ballot, that mine in particular is statewide, and that May 19th is the day. And so I'm not going to be there if you're looking to vote for me in November, I will not be on that ballot.
Okay. It's May 19th. Yes. Okay. Yes. All right. So we'll see you again before the election. And then if there's anything you want us to share or anything like that, just let me know.
Awesome.
We're on it. Okay. All right. Oh my God, Will, thank you so much for coming. We really enjoyed it.
All right. Me too.
Okay. All right. Take care. All right. Bye, Will. Thank you. Okay. Take care. All right. Bye-bye. Okay, guys, that was so much fun. Oh my God, that was so much fun. I really enjoyed that. I hope you guys did too. I wanted to tell you guys earlier so bad, but you know how people's schedules can change, things can come up. I know he's a busy person. He's, obviously got a busy, demanding job. He's running for office, all of the things. And I'm going to be honest, I was just nervous. I didn't want to say too much until I knew it was a sure thing. But I think he values, he knows that we have a very diverse and unique audience, and we do have a lot of people in Georgia. And I hope that anyone who is in Georgia who's registered to vote, will consider all of the options for the election. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but you met one of your candidates today, and if you feel like he's a viable candidate for you in your state and you're registered to vote in the state of Georgia on May 19th, he's asking for your vote, which is always nice when somebody asks you for your vote. So really nice, and I so appreciate him coming and spend some time with us. Yeah, it was awesome. So thank you guys. I appreciate you guys turning out. If you have not hit the like button yet, which it seems like everybody has hit the like button. If you hadn't hit the like button yet, I appreciate that you do so. I'm going to go and contribute to the fund. You know, again, the information is there. If you want to donate to Mr. Wooten, please feel free to do so. You have plenty of time to do so if you're so inclined. But like he said, you know, and I don't want to take it too, you know, everyone might not be able to put dollars forward, but what you can do is share information with a friend, share on social media, follow the social media, because you know how the algorithm works. So if you have social media, if you have a Facebook page, if you have Instagram, maybe just give a follow and give a share, and that's worth a lot too. So don't always feel like if you are not in a position to donate dollars, you can donate support, which is support in terms of a follow. How can I get a gift? How can I gift Will a membership? Oh my gosh, that's so sweet. I don't know. I mean, specifically, you can't gift a specific person. I wish there was that functionality, but there isn't. I don't know, but you have his social media, so that's a good, maybe we'll just invite him. Maybe we'll do a live in members, but I definitely want to be able to share what Will has to come to say to all of Bougie Gang or all of our supporters and viewers who come to this channel. So definitely the next one will be a live just like this. But you know, if you want to share him, you know, share with him a member, I don't know. That's a good question. We'll figure something out. Okay. What a great treat. I hope Sonia hit the like button. I think she probably hit the thumbs down. I think she hit the thumbs down. But yeah, you guys, I was holding this secret for like a minute, a long minute. I would say, you know, a little minute. I'm not going to say too much because, you know, people are listening. But anywho, I'm so glad that we were able to put this together for you guys, because you know, like I told him that his filings are so good and we enjoy them so much, and we've learned so much, especially also to you know, Pam out there and Nyla. I mean, it's just such a great group of women that have been covering this case, and of course there's the men out here too, of course. I don't want to leave anyone out, but you know, specifically, I just feel like it's just been such a nice ride for the past 2 years, and we've learned so much. And you know, I appreciate him acknowledging that you know, he's been in the bushes. Okay, he's been in the bushes. Okay. Oh, top tier. Thank you. You guys, I want to thank all of you guys who donated, who's supporting the channel. I mean, number one, being here, watching, hitting the thumbs up, absolutely, subscribing to the channel. Anyone who has super chatted, cash apped, I'm so sorry I didn't read everybody's super chats and cash apps along the ride, but I wanted to focus on the time that we were spending with Will. I'm going to just put it out there. I'm not a Georgia resident, but I really do appreciate you supporting his endeavors. I mean, just from an employment, a work standpoint, and people wanting to grow in their career. If any of you have ever been at a point in your job and you know it's just time to move up, promote, sometimes you have to promote yourself. And this is an opportunity where he's reached a certain level in his job and he has an opportunity to promote. And it's nice to see people progressing and taking the step forward, you know, on their own to progress within their career. So this is something that he has to do. He's not waiting for a promotion. He's actually out here managing his career, which is so important. And I totally support that. I feel like that's just an important step. And, you know, HR is my background, and corporate and executive recruiting. And when people are taking control of their career, whether you do a position change within your company or go to another company, when you take control of your career, that's such a huge thing. And I totally support someone feeling like and knowing that it's time to progress within their career. So it's pretty awesome. So I wish Will a lot of success, and I appreciate him thinking that we were a good place to come and spend some time with us for support. And Nyla, thank you so much for coming through. Phone calls from prison. I know you guys were shouting out Pam. I don't know if Pam was here, but I thank everybody for being here tonight. Everybody who gifted memberships and and tipping your host. I'm just going to say it like that. Thank you for tipping your host. And I so appreciate it. So you guys are awesome. And I love you guys. And I will see you guys tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and close this one out. If you missed the video earlier, we were live like an hour before this one. And we went through a call from a couple of weeks ago. We did review the docket. We did talk about the leave of absence, Roberto's leave of absence, Mr. Hoover, Nesto's attorney. We talked about that. And so if you missed that, go catch that. And if you're new here, welcome. And I will see you guys next time. Okay. All right, you guys. Here's Will's poster. Like I said, all of his information is in my description box. So go get into it. And I guess that's it. That's all. We'll talk tomorrow. Okay. You guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody, for everything. I love you guys. Okay. Take care, guys. Bye.